Last blocks of the butterfly quilt, we start putting this thing together. Hey, this is Carrie with Canary Quilts, and we are on week 7 of the Tula Pink Butterfly Quilt. And this is actually the last week of making blocks. From this point on, we're going to start assembling all our sections. This week we're doing the, we are doing the medium pie block, the large wheel, and the medium wheel. That's all that's left to do. These are all done with templates, which are provided in the book, and I show you how I make my templates. I didn't get template plastic, but I did use a technique that most people use is freezer paper. So anyway, I show you how I do that, how I get all my pieces cut, how I put them together. I actually have to pull my pins out, and if you know me, I don't use pins, and my fingers are sore because I'm not used to working with pins. But anyway, I show you how I put these together. I go through my colors, and all the colors for the blocks are on my website, which I have a link down below. So you can, if you like the colors I use, which I pretty much went by the front of the quilt to figure out what colors are in each block. So you can head over to my website and get those colors. I have listed them out for each block also. But we do 2 of these, we do 2 of these, and then we do 2 each of these in the different colorways this week, and then we're done. But yeah, it'll set aside a little time. It's going to take a little while to do these blocks, but they're fun, they're challenging, they're colorful, so it's a good time. It's just you need to just carve out a little time to do this. But anyway, if you're new here, this is the Tula Pink Butterfly Quilt I'm working on. I have the pattern and I have the fabric kit listed down below if you want to join along with us. It's never too late to do this. You can go back to all my other videos I have up here and reference them so that you can get this done. You can check my website out, get all the colors. But anyway, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You'll get notified as we move along in this quilt. And if you are working along with me, then you'll get to see how I put together the sections. If you're just here to watch, then yay! It's going to be a beautiful quilt. But anyway, let's get started. Welcome to the last week of making blocks on our butterfly quilt. Isn't that amazing? We have done so good to this point. So this week, happy Halloween, by the way. Woohoo, I love Halloween. We're doing the medium pie, the large and small wheel. And we need the templates back here for those. And they suggest template plastic if you want. I didn't do that. What I did is, and I've already made 4 blocks. I wanted to see, of the medium pie, I wanted to just see how I did and how it goes and if I need to make any adjustments and just how it all worked well for me. But anyway, I used freezer paper. I just got myself a big old piece of freezer paper, and here's the ones I've done already. And I came in here and you can see through it, and I just traced around the outside line. You don't need these dotted lines. If you do it that way, that's fine. But I just traced on this outside solid line, and then I marked it with the letter that it was, and then I cut it out. So that's how I did my templates, and it worked out great. So I've got all my templates here. They're all marked as to what we need. And for this first block, we only need H and G. So I'm going to put these, excuse my reach. Got this little bag I've been keeping everything in. I'm going to put these away because I live in Florida. I have a ceiling fan. They can fly all over the place. So those are going in there. And what you can do with freezer paper is you can iron it onto your fabric and it'll stick long enough for you to cut around the edge and get your pieces cut out. So for these blocks, I'll show you what I got. You're just basically, this G is the pie piece and it's in here, and you're going to cut two, you're actually going to cut 4 of your fabric for this. And this will be like the number 1 fabric, number 2 fabric, number 3 fabric. Number 1 and 2 are interchangeable because they're the exact same template. So to get 2 of these blocks, you're going to need 4 of these 2 colors and 8 of these. And these are the colors that I've gone through and determined were in the quilt. And I have a list of these colors on my website, so you can go there and you can see which colors I've listed them out by the name of the fabric. This was the first one I did, and I put this together, and then I had to rip the whole block apart again because it was too small. It was about 6 1/4 inch square. It needs to be 6 1/2 inch square. And so what I did was I switched my machine over to a scant 1/4 inch. So on my machine, and every machine's different, I can tell the machine to move my needle over a little bit to the right to give me a scant 1/4 inch. And for my machine in particular, my default needle position is 3.5. I moved it over to 4.2. So what I'm going to do is, even though this is the right size block, I'm going to cut another one. I've got my second one here, but I'm going to cut another one and redo this block because you can see, you probably can't, but I can. I can see the holes from the previous seams in here. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So I'll show you how I cut my templates out. Let's take our fabrics. So these 2 are my 1 and 2 fabrics, and they are going to be from template G. Since I already have a set here, I only need 1 set, which would be 2 of this color and 2 of this color. So let me grab my ironing mat. I'm going to fold this so that I'm cutting 2 at a time. And then I am just going to iron this G on. And I have ironed this on several times and it still sticks. So that is stuck on there. I'm going to pull it off. And then I am going to just carefully cut right on the outside of that freezer paper. There we go. I got 2 of that color cut. I'll call that my number 1 fabric. There we go. Do the same with this one. And this is my number 3 fabric, and that's going to have the H template. And we need 4 of these. You would need 8 if you're cutting all of yours at once. I already have a set cut, so I only need 4. So there we go. That will make 1 block. So 1 and 2 fabrics, maybe it's 1 and 2, I don't remember. But anyway, I'll have them listed out. 3 fabric, and that's how you make one of these blocks, and you're going to have 2 of all of them. So I will have 2 of this lime colored block to make, and I'll have 1 of all the others left because I'm redoing that block since I had to rip it out. So I'm going to show you how I put together 1 block, and then the rest will be exactly the same. And it's going to take a little bit of time to do this. And you're going to see me pull something out that I don't pull out very often, and that's my pins. I don't use pins unless I have to. I use clips. I tried using clips and I just couldn't do it. I have to use pins. So let's get started with this one. The color's a little too close. I don't think I'll use that one. Let's just do one of these. So put these aside. I'll get 4 of my H's, 2 of my 1s, 2 of my 2s, or whatever they are. And I'm going to just clip these back together and set them over here with the pile of the rest of them I need to do. So here's our pieces. And it doesn't matter how we put them on. We're just going to add H to G. Okay, so I've got my machine set up with my 1/4 inch foot and a scant 1/4 inch. I am going to, first thing I'm going to do is take my little snips here, and I am going to put in just a 1/8 of an inch cut all the way down my H. Don't cut up into the 1/4 inch because that's where you're going to be sewing. Just cut little clips going down your H circle here. I'm going to do all of these right now. So what I'm going to be doing from here is basically putting my H onto my G's. And the way I do that is I fold this little pie piece in half, whatever you want to call it, half circle. Put a little crease up here in the top curve. So I've got a crease. And you can do it however you want to mark your center, you can do it. But that's how I do it. I fold them and I get that crease. So I'm going to take the crease of my H and line it up with the crease of my G. Try to get these points just pointing at each other. And then I am pinning that center where those fold marks. Now I'm going to go to each edge, and what I've been doing here that I have found with this block in particular for some reason, I'm pinning, but when I pin, I'm going all the way down that edge. Because I also found that if you pin up here at the top, this edge can get moved and it starts to twist your fabric up here. So I put a pin, whoops, from the top to the bottom of that H fabric. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. This side seems to be harder for me. I don't know if it's because I'm left-handed or right-handed, but I'm doing the same thing over here. I'm going to put a pin from the top to the bottom of that H fabric. Just to keep that in place. So there we go. We got 3 pins in. So now I'm going to start over here, and if you just start manipulating that fabric, you can see that it will lay down to the curve of the G fabric. So I go in the center and pin those together with the edges lined up, and then I go in the center of these pins and pin in the middle with the edges lined up, and then I do the same thing here. Those edges lined up. There shouldn't be any wrinkles in that fabric, and I'll pin here also. So that's what half of it looks like, and we're going to do the same thing over here. And by making those little notches, it just helps that H fabric lay down better because it's just fighting the opposite, how it is on the opposite curve. So center, then the middle of that. And then the middle of that. So that's what it looks like. It's all lined up on the edges. I'm ready to sew. I'm going to put all of these together and get them ready to sew and do them all at the same time. So mark your center. Okay, I've got all 4 of these H's pinned onto my G's. So I am ready to take these over to the machine and sew them. But I did all of them exactly like I showed you on the beginning and didn't have any problems. So let's see how it goes when we're sewing. I'm going to take you over to my machine and sew you. I'm going to show you how I do this. Okay, I'm here at my machine. I've got my 1/4 inch foot. I've got a scant 1/4 inch on my needle. And I am just going to start from, I'm going to keep H on top, obviously, because we're sewing flat against G. And I'm just going to start sewing. And hopefully I'll remember to pull my pins out as I go. So I'll start right before it a little bit. Let's get started. I'm going to go slow. There's my first pin. You can see I'm just like holding the fabric with both these fingers to keep my 1/4 inch. Where I'm going to be sewing a 1/4 inch, it's going to be flat. It's almost like sewing a straight line. Oops, almost. If you need to, you can kind of maneuver that fabric a little to pull it down so you don't get a wrinkle. And you can lift your foot up, and that helps relieve the tension on the fabric too. So I'm coming up here where I'm going to have a wrinkle. I'm going to just pull that top fabric back a little. One thing with my foot is I have to push that pin underneath my 1/4 inch. I don't like that, but that's how it works. Yep, see, it's hard. Okay, so there. I hope you could see that. Whoops. So that's what our seam looks like right now. That looks like a pinch, but it's not. It's just a fold in the fabric. So I'm going to finish the other ones, and then we'll come back and I'll show you these ironed out and how to put it together. Okay, here's my 4 pieces finished. I showed you how I sewed them, so let's get them ironed. Oh, before I iron, I do another clip with the 2 fabrics together. Put some clips in that seam allowance. Now we're ready to just carefully start ironing that H piece towards that H piece. Fix this piece, got it ironed. Got all my pieces ironed here, and we're ready to assemble this block. Basically going to pair up opposites here. Make sure your fabrics are in opposite corners also. So that's what our block is going to look like. We're just going to take these rows, and I'm going to line up these seams right here So this is the side I want to sew. Line that. I'm going to line up these seams, but I'm going to do that. So that one's done. This is the side we want to sew. I'm going to flip it. Line the seams up right here. I will line these up, pull on my fabric a little, and then clip it up here, and then sew these. And we're going to just choose a fabric and iron towards that fabric. Okay, I will choose, I think the fabric's called Lime. And I will iron towards that fabric. And I'm going to do the same thing on this other one. Iron towards the same fabric. Now, when we put it together, our center seam here goes in opposite directions. So we can nest those seams, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with this seam in the middle. Get those two seams matched up and nested so that point turns out really nice. Pin it. Then I'm going to come over here and match the seams over here. Right there, just like I did when I was putting them together. And then over here. And now I am going to sew this and come back and just choose one way to iron it. There we go. Let's just iron towards this top one. There, we got pretty dang close to 6.5. It's hard. It really is hard. I gotta trim that side a little bit with all these curves. So there you go. That's how you do that. And just to recap, I used a scant 1/4 inch. So I showed you how I used freezer paper to make the templates and how I used those templates to iron onto the fabric and cut it out. And then once I got the templates put together into the blocks they need to be made, I just cut some little notches in my H so that I could work it into my G fabrics. I used, like I said, a scant 1/4 inch to sew it and then put it together. And I chose one of these G fabrics to iron towards so I would get these. So I nest these seams right here, and it's not easy, but it's not a lot of steps. So there you go. I'm going to finish these up, and then we can move on to the next one, which I think is the medium wheel, large wheel. This is medium pie large wheel, but I'll show you these when I'm done real quick before we move on. So there you go. Okay, here's my finished medium pie blocks, and I didn't have any other issues as I finished them out from when you saw me last, so there we go. I am going to put these aside. Again, the fabrics are on my website, and we're going to get started on the large, what's it called? Large wheel. So let's go do that one. To get started on the large wheel, I want to let you know I'm going to be doing the small and large wheel together because they're constructed exactly the same, and it's just that one's smaller than the other. So to start off with the large wheel, you're going to need templates A, B, and C, and I showed you that I cut those. I traced them and cut them out of freezer paper, labeled them A, B, C, And then I picked my fabrics out. So 1 is the center circle, and that's the dark purple. 2 and 3 are this inner ring here. That's right here. Now, something to note is in the front picture, this fabric is the number 3 fabric, the polka dot. I didn't have enough left to do, so I switched it out for this fabric, and I think I'm going to be really happy with that. So I like this fabric actually better than this fabric, personally. And then the number 4 fabric is this outer corner border that is this pink floral, pink and teal floral. So that's my large wheel fabrics. You need 8 of all of these cut. Okay, here's our small wheel fabrics, and we need templates D, E, and F. Same thing, done on freezer paper. And you need 8 of each of these also. So our first fabric is the center, and that's this teal and lime floral. And then you have the teal polka dot and the dark teal, and then this fabric here is our number 4 fabric, which is the outer ring. These two are this inner ring. All right, so here's my block pieces laid out, the small and the large. And then I went ahead and made a block just to see how it went together. And I didn't have any issues. This is a little small, not gonna lie. It's a little bit harder than the last one, but this big one is way easier than the last one, the medium pie. So what we do first is we take these 2 pieces and put them together right here, and then we're going to iron towards the darkest piece. So I'm going to mass produce these. I'm just going to take this, put it over, you line it up on that edge, and then we'll clip it and sew it. And I have been still sewing with a scant 1/4 inch. So I've gone ahead and pinned the side I'm going to sew, and I'm just going to send these through my machine with my scant 1/4 inch, and then we're going to come back and we're going to iron these towards the darker fabric. Okay, I got all my pieces sewn here, and we want to iron towards the dark side of the dark fabric. Okay, so now we got to do the curves. And green goes here, purple goes here, it's very obvious. What we need to do is go through and clip the inner curve of the section we just sewed together. Let's do the 4 small ones first. And we need to find the center. The center of this is going to be the seam. I do a crease. I take my seam here, and I'm going to line the seam up with the crease. And I make sure my point is lined up with the seam too. And then I pin it. And then I take this over here, and it's small, line it up edge to edge, the side edges, just like that. And then that's where I do that long pin to keep the edge together. Go over here, do the same thing. Where for some reason it's always harder to do this side. And I long pin that side too. Then we just have to work it in the middle. And see, it does kind of want to line up on its own, so that makes it easy. I'm going to put just 2 pins in here, hold it in place. Do this side, hopefully this one wants to fall in place. And it does. Throw a couple pins in here. And then I'll be sewing this a scant 1/4 inch. I'll be sewing the whole thing with a scant 1/4 inch, just so you know. Okay. That's what it looks like. It's hard to see, but oh, it looks like a cape. That's what it looks like. It looks like a cape. Cute. Anyway, I'm gonna get these 4 done, these other 3 done, and then we'll go over to the machine and we'll start sewing them. All right, here's my little pie pieces, whatever you want to call them, finished. I've got 8 for each of these. And now it's time to put on the outside corner. And this is going to be just like in the medium pie that we did, except it's bigger. And I'm just going to clip along this curved edge, just about 1/8 of an inch in. I'm going to fold it to find the center. And then the center here is the seam, so I'm going to line up my fold with the seam, and I'm going to keep, make sure your points are in line down here. I'm going to keep this outer piece face up to me, and then line up the edges. And then pin in between. Line up the edges in between the pins and pin it up so we can sew it. There we go. Just like the last one we did. There we go. So let's head over to the machine. We'll get these sewn and then we can finish up the blocks and holy cow, we'll be done. Woo! Okay, let's start sewing our outer corner on. Again, just be patient and move your fabric carefully to make sure you don't have any wrinkles. There's the first one. Okay, I got my first 2 done and we're going to iron towards the corner. I did go along and clip into the seam allowance also. And there's our second one. So that's how you construct the medium, the large, and the small wheel. So I'm going to get these finished and then we'll come back and we'll put the sections together to make the block. Alright, I put one together. Now it's time to put the other together. It's pretty simple. Done it many times before. Take your 4 sections. Match up your seams right here and right here. And then we'll sew this. I'm still working on a scant 1/4 inch. And so I'll be sewing this at a scant 1/4 inch. And then I'll show you how I'm going to iron it so that we get opposite seams. So I'm going to get these sewn, and then I'll come back and show you how I iron them to get opposite seams. Okay, I got them sewn, and to get the opposite seams, I just lay them out exactly the same way. And that way when I flip one of these, the seam will be in the opposite direction. And now we can put these together like this, matching the center, nesting the center, and then matching these seams right here. So let's nest the center. And then match these seams. And we'll get this sewn up, and then we're just going to iron towards one side. There you go. Now we'll just iron to one side, and our block will be complete. Just make sure your points are good and you're happy with them. And I'm going to do the same thing for my green block. So I'll come back here and I'll have both of them laid out for you. Wow, we are done making blocks. They turned out so pretty too. I love these colors. Even though they aren't exactly like the front, like this one, I still love these colors. So today we did the medium pie block and the small and the large wheel, which is the last blocks we have to do for this quilt. We can mark it off our list. Oh, and by the way, happy Halloween. The next 4 weeks, we're going to be putting together sections of this block. So I've got all my blocks in here. They're labeled in different bags. There's all my hip square triangles. And flying geese in the body. Here's my log cabins. Here are chunky cross, floating cross, and stripes. And then the intersection blocks are in here. So I'm going to put my wheel blocks in here with my intersection. And I'll know the difference, obviously. It's very obvious. So all my blocks are in here. I am ready to go to start putting these together. We're going to have to cut background and grab the blocks we need and start putting this beautiful quilt together. So let me know how you're doing. I had a lot of fun doing these blocks. They were a little more difficult. My fingers hurt from the pins, but I had fun making this video. And hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You'll get notified as I put these sections together and see the entire quilt when it's done. But anyway, thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!